tick tock, time on the wall. Hip hop, sala nigga no pare. Kakanta zamanyano.
Ladies and G's, boys and G's, it's the forbidden son of athletics, KaraboJ. With this is episode 3 of Beyond Athletics, season 2, with Mr. Manus Hendriks from Prestige. We all know him as well from AGN. I don't want to limit what you do. I don't want to limit your work and say you are specifically that, but I would like to call it an athletics extraordinaire. You are so much to our sport. You play so many big roles in people's lives, and you've done so much that is recognizable by us, and we thank you for that. How are you, sir? For the viewers, this is for the viewers now.
I'm good. Thanks to you, Karabo. Everything is going well. It's just the winter is bringing up a lot of COVID cases in South Africa, but otherwise I'm good.
I am happy to hear that. I'm happy to hear that. And looking at what you do on a daily basis, I'm guessing if I'm correct, you are a sports director at Prestige College at Themba.
Yes, I'm a sports director at Prestige College. It's just actually outside Hammanskraal. Yes, and I've been there for many years.
How many years is it now?
This year it's going to be 18 years.
Wow, that's been long. I want to now get to try and figure out, how does someone like you first get exposed to athletics, from a young age? How do you grow up? Where do you grow up? Where are you from? What schools did you attend? And how do you therefore get exposed to athletics?
Okay, I'm going to make it just be in short. I was born in Polokwane, and I went to schools there in Polokwane, in Limpopo. I had two coaches, a male and a female coaches, who took me to athletics, although I was also involved with other sporting coaches, and they created the love of athletics in me. And therefore, from there, I went to the University of Pretoria, where I also was involved with athletics. And then from University of Pretoria, I decided to have a new challenge, which was when I decided to go to Prestige College, and I've been there ever since. And I started Prestige College as a school which was in the F bond for athletics, and today it's a school in the A bond and the super inter I. Thinking winning the super inter I on 4 occasions already in the past 6 years.
Starting off at I'm thinking about a young you at the University of Pretoria. Did you participate in athletics? Maybe the now called USA Athletics, the varsity competitions, the school competitions? Did you, and what events did you do?
Okay, when I started at the university, it was still a grass track. In my time, it was still Miss Anneke de Villiers was the head of TIX athletics. We trained on the grass track, but I did the 800 and 1.5. We didn't have varsity athletics. We only had schools, what do you call it, the USA championships, which I participated in the 800 and 1.5. And sometimes, and also cross country, and sometimes these universities, we used to have this road race, and we still have it today. In our time, it was 15Ks. We had to run it just to get points for universities.
For the university. And is it then maybe you start understanding maybe the concept of teamwork, or the concept of growing the developed child, or trying to develop a child in that process?
Yes, I think it is. I think what helped me a lot, I was in race at university for many years. Then I think what happened there was not really a system at the university. So most of the systems I started doing the first year's athletics before there was a athletics program. I did it on Excel, which was
Mm.
quite time because I wasn't aware of this all these other different types of programs you could get. And then from there, you started putting processes in place. And then when I wanted to leave the university, they asked me to stay, but unfortunately they said I need to go and experience the outside world. I can't just be close to the inside the university and only stay at Tex. So and therefore I decided to do my own thing, and that's why I went into
Um, you mentioned a lot of trying to get out and getting experience. And as young people, for one, myself, I studied sport management, and looking at the world of sport and how now it's so limited in offering us maybe those opportunities as much as they are there, but you create your own opportunities. And one would say you are one of the few people that created their own opportunities in this community of athletics or in this industry. And how did you find that leap for you? How was you taking that step? How did it feel at that time, and what was on your mind?
when started at Prestige College, it was difficult. So what happened is you had to do everything yourself, and then you had to make a name for not for yourself but also for the athletes which came to the school, and you had to build on that. So in the beginning, when Prestige College wanted to go to a top 10 and a top 20, the schools were reluctant to invite us because they didn't see us as anything important. But if time goes, it happened. For example, we were for 6 years in a row, Noord van die Berg competition, which is a competition between the schools north of Pretoria. We came last for 6 years in a row, and a person thought this, give up, give up. But every time a person came, and in the 7th year, we didn't only move up, but we won the competition. Although it was with 1 point, but we still won. I think it was us winning with 1 against Montana and just behind Overkruis. So it happens, but also, but schools also never gave us a chance to go to the A-bond and to say to us, the first year of A-bond, we will also come back, position last, but it didn't happen. We came second or third, but also what changed what you also will realize is that the point system was changed. The moment Prestige went up to the A-bond about 3 years before we went up, I think a lot of schools realized that we're going to go up. And as you know, we are not strong with the pro events, and the point system make it that 39% of our A-bond points, which a lot of the public does not know, is pro events. So how fair is the A-bond in Pretoria then? So that is the stats people outside does not know. And unfortunately, that's how it is, where our strong events are track and jumps, just to give you an idea. Yeah. So we come from that background. So, and that scenes where I always have to get involved and for the school in terms of how can I say, and act behalf of a school, and always trying to also convey our message of what we want to achieve. As where we go to the super inter-high series with the schools like Help Mekaar, with the schools like Waterkloof, all of them, which is a very fair competition, correct point systems, which is by the IAAF, which is now World Athletics, and also by that. So that is my involvement in terms of sport at Prestige College, but in terms of athletics, but I'm also involved with other sporting coach, and we're also obviously in cross country in terms of Prestige.
Now, what was your plan for maybe the first day, if the first year you get there, or the first maybe few months? What was your plan? What is your long-term plan? And is it something that's happening now? Are you still on the same route to achieving that plan, or have some things changed? Are you that kind of person that wants to see a kid's life change? Do you want to change someone's life through sports? What was your initial plan with all the other sports as well?
The initial plan is to say to what my initial plan was is that we are in a, how can I say, in a South Africa which is diverse, and Prestige is a school which represents it's a majority of our kids are from how can I say, in terms of from township areas. Our kids are also from, some are from very good areas and so on. But it's not about that. It's about to show that a school with a majority of the learners, which are black learners, can achieve as much as any other school in the country or in Africa. There's no difference, which makes can make us great. So in the time being, what happened is if you can check, Prestige is a top cricket school in the country.
Wow.
It's also a netball school in the country. One of our outstanding sporting coaches, it's chess with a few national champions coming from there in terms of chess. Tsepang Tlale, who was a student at Wits University, is #1 female chess player in South Africa and Africa. So we have also Kanya Mazibuko, who matriculated 2 years ago, was the #1 player in South Africa. We have regularly won the top South African school chess championships. So in terms of that, we are great. Soccer, we participated on twice in the tournament at St. David's. 4 times we won it twice. And obviously with soccer, there's no structure in terms of for schools like a schools league like that, but outstanding soccer at the school. Yeah, so in terms of that, it is great for the school. But yeah, so the achievement was to show that you can, in all the different sporting codes were available, that we can compete. I think our first success came with Residitswe Mhlanga, who was the world youth champion. And then we also had success with Matlatin Dombeni in netball, who played for South Africa. Blessing Sitole plays for South Africa. Netball, currently a student at Tuks. And so on the list go. It is difficult to go on the list. Currently at the NWU, last year's matric boys, we have 6 enrolled playing cricket for the Northwest University. So they go to various universities. So we don't want to limit them. Our local Tshwane University of Technology, currently we have Lindo Kotlechora there, who is the USA champion of this year in the 400-meter hurdles. So we have a variety of learners at the different institutions. And where this kids comes from, the idea is to have them getting exposure and just when they finished school, to get the opportunity to have a bursary, either academic or sport. And what happens with that is that they just better the circumstances where they come from. So the whole idea is what I always tell them is not all of you are going to be Olympian or a national cricket player and so on. But you need to make use of the opportunity. So if it is that you just do athletics for your university, but make sure you get your degree. And that is the whole idea behind that, is to have that system to give them the possibility of be competitive with the best in the country, but also to focus on themselves, that they can fulfill that by studying at the university. And sport opens a lot of doors for these learners. But the challenge is just coming in is that the different demands you get when you go to university, you know, the student life, etc. Allowance for, but also understanding is some of the learners are bursary learners. Now, it's a different thing to be a school bursary learner and a university bursary learner. And sometimes a lot of these kids don't have a means in terms of funding, just basic things like food, etc. And life is hard for them to cope with it. So with these things also which they have to deal with, some of them come right to NSFAS, others don't, depending on the course they study at university. But we can say some of the universities goes out of their way to assist these learners of prestige. We have learners all over at all these various universities in South Africa. Majority of them have been good to our learners.
Yeah, it's truly amazing to hear what you're saying, and it's truly inspirational for me. It's good to hear someone like you, and it shows that the hard work is not only the hard work, but the passion is there, the love for the people as well is there. You not only try to see or grow athletes, but also become growing the better people in these young people. And it's absolutely amazing. Thank you so much for your efforts you've done at Prestige. And I can say and attest myself that Prestige College is one of the best sports schools in South Africa. And athletics, to be specific, it's probably the best, if not, because I just looked at how it produced the 2017 World Youth Champions and record holders, the youth record holders. That group that was jumping, that group that was running well, your Amos Kozas, that young sensational distance athlete. Going into 2018, 2019 as well, you speak about your Induguhle Gora, that big group that blossomed into these universities and now are giving us world-class performances in South Africa. We thank people like you, not only for the hard work, but for the passion as well, for the patience you've applied. I think one also person who stands out, probably who's not an athlete, is a soccer player of Orlando Pirates, Thabiso Monyane, who probably comes from your program, and it shows that there's a big man and a big man with a big heart who's doing a good job behind the scenes. Are you a coach as well, if I'm not wrong, a distance coach?
I used to be a coach at the school. My life is obviously, I like middle distance, but I used to, when I started, obviously at Prestige, I started alone. When I got two coaches, I went to the principal and said to her, it can't go on like that. And while that, I was also teaching the IEB, Independent Examination Board, at grade 12, teaching them accounting.
You were teaching?
And business studies.
Nice.
I was teaching, not anymore.
Nice.
Yeah, it was just too much. So then I assisted, I got two assistants, Tebogo Gadebe and Taran Adams. Taran Adams today is the head of the soccer at the school in terms of the programming. And then Tebogo Gadebe, he's the athletics director. So I started coaching alone, and when these guys come up, and with Thabiso Makwela, the cricket director, in between us, we started. Now we have specialized coaches. I think you will see. Just to want to tell you, when you speak about coaches, our coaches is passionate about the sporting coach and specifically athletics. You want to know is that we have extremely passionate coaches, and just to tell you, after 2017 as group, I think we are in 2021, we are back again with strong athletics. This year at the South African Championships in Paarl, the school with the most, and we don't count relay medals. Relay medal is a team competition, so it's learners from various schools. So we only count the individual performances, and Prestige College was the best performing school in the country according to the medal stand in terms of individual performances. And again, just to highlight, I think Precious Molepo, I think you're aware of her. It was last year the fastest time in history in 400
meters.
And then obviously Banele Shabangu, new sensations in middle distance. Mpo Jack, under 800 meter champion, and also Pabalo Radebo, 800 meter champion in a a future athlete to watch, which is now coached by Maritza Kutsia, is Tumi Ramagopa, in the
Oh,
footsteps, also coming from the same school as
Lindu.
primary school as Fonsi Morake and
Oh,
Lindu Kotlagorova, both were SA champions, winning the, as a grade 8 learner, winning the under 16 90-meter hurdles at the in par. So I think we have a passion and the coaching we talk. So I used to be a coach, but I'm no more a coach. I'm more in, as you know, more involved with the administration with IGN and involved with the ASA.
yeah. Would you say coaching is difficult than running? I hear some people saying they will never coach themselves.
It's difficult to answer. It depends on a person. But one thing I know is I love athletics. But I love athletics by being involved in administration, selecting teams, and all of that, and very involved in selecting not only the schools team but also the provincial team of IGN, and that's also with the senior teams. But what is important is that I think it depends on your passion. My passion is not for coaching.
For coaching.
But if there's no one else, I will do it. But for
Oh,
me, it's passion is about the administrative. Like our middle distance coach is George Bradley, and he lives, eats everything coaching of athletics. So in that terms, it is great.
nice.
And so
Let's move away a bit from the prestige sport director to the man. I can't find the words to describe this, but the system that you came about in South African athletics, the results, the draw sheets, the programs, the live results, you know, the WhatsApp results versus athletics. I remember the days of versus athletics. How did you come about that, and when was this?
okay, so my involvement was I was struggling with a program, and I wanted it to be more computerized. I'm like IT, so I'm involved with IT things. So what happened is I had a friend, she was at the school and she was an IT teacher at the school, and she used to do used versus. So I said, no, let's sit together and she must assist me. So she assisted me a few things. And after that day, I decided, no, I need to take it to the next level. So that's the last 10 years or 12 years. I've been involved with USA results. I think now this year it was 13 years, which I'm involved with university sport. But the importance of us is that we just want to give the South Africans the same service what you can get in Europe or in America. And we shouldn't stand back for anyone. So when it came to, I was approached by Duitser Bosman for varsity athletics to say to that I must do the results, but I want to have live results. And my first challenge was, we want live results because apparently I was a person who can do it, but I've never done it. And the previous person couldn't do it. They were stuck on television. So the challenge came and we were under pressure for doing the results and including the point scoring table. So when you go to an international meet, mostly you only need to put the results on the television screens and also on the big screen, for example. But our added responsibility is the screen in terms of points. So that we want to see which university is leading. So you can imagine how close this point system is. So for example, Karabo, if you, let's just say as an example, you run an 800 and 151 and you get 1,000 points for say UJ. And the person from Tex runs it in 151.5, gets 970 points. That points are added. So that table scores is called, it was the IAAF point system. it's always updated every 4 years, but this one was the world. It's now called World Athletics. So when the decision was that I must do the results. So once it happened, that's how it became. So we started by having, when the person finishes 100 meters, it all depends on how fast the operator is on the camera, which is the electronic time camera. But we now are linked to that camera. So we link to the camera directly with our own network. So, and then what happened is immediately the results will be then released. So the moment you finish 100 meters, immediately a few seconds the results can be entered, and it can also become. It can be being broadcasted on television, and the same applies. So we normally have, I don't know if you've watched Varsity Cup, but it depends on when the, for obviously you will have, sorry. It depends on how long. I never watch it because I'm always under pressure.
Oh, yes.
So what happens is you can also not make a mistake. So when that 100 meters points, 400 meters is the last event, which people don't see on television. Mostly the university competes for a trophy. Normally there are around 3 of them. They will stand behind the screen. Whoever wins must then be called forward, and the fireworks comes. And emotionally, unfortunately, for the other 2 teams who loses. So normally it takes about a minute after that race has started when we have available results for who's the winning team, and it has been verified. So it needs to be verified by the team of the team and the what do you call it, the university sport. So once I say we all agree, the green light goes ahead, and then the teams are called to the front. The 1 year, I think, just to tell you the closeness on 30,000 points, it takes 1 year to adjust less than 10 points. You can imagine the stress and the university reactions when this results comes out. So yeah, that was the 2019 results. The 2020 result was the highest ever points, which took place in Potchefstroom. But the person get used to it, and it is a system. So lately what we have done now is our technology has again been advanced, and at the ATN meets, the last 4 ones we have tested it now, where again direct import, and it's called the electronic timing import. I'm working with 2 other IT persons, which is directly import. So for example, when it unfortunately can't happen in middle distance events, because when you run a middle distance event, you don't finish in your allocated lane. So currently our system will happen, if an athlete passes the lanes, what will happen is we'll import it. We'll just say, yes, I will not enter any result to cut out the human error. And because of that, the results are also immediately released. The only challenge is when you struggle with network connections in South Africa, mostly sometimes unstable. And it's also because of where we are seated, the unstableness. Normally on top, so you struggle with network, but we always take more than one router to sort it out. So the idea then is that the moment that results come, it goes to our website too, where the athletics results are published. It's athletic info. I think you've seen it, and also directly to your phone, and then it is connected to your phone. So that function is then available, and then therefore to make it world standard in terms of South Africa being able to host for example, a diamond league, because of we can do exactly the same what we or any other country can do.
It's so much. It's so much. A lot of technology and a lot of procedures, I'm sure. What I would like to know is, let's say there's ASA champs, and you have to prepare the draw sheets, lanes, whatever, hit 1, hit 2, hit 3. How do you now? Is it you, or is it automatically that the big guys or the big stars are in the different heats? Is it you, or is it set? Is it something that's automatic?
Okay, there's two ways. There's one which is automatically, And the other way is where I manipulate the draw. So when you go to South African Championships, I don't manipulate the draw. But what I can tell you, for example, is you will enter your season's best. You cannot enter your personal best.
Personal best.
I think if you see the European scene where a lot of the Diamond Leagues is some brilliant athletes of 1994
Yes.
is still running, but with a PB which is brilliant, but is not running that times, it does not make sense. So we take seasons based. So that's why we'll find specifically, like for example, Gauteng is strong in
Sprint.
their usual sprints, where, for example, you will get your Northwest, which is strong in hammer throw, different events. Which doesn't really matter about their best seasons based. So seasons based is when calculated by the computer, and then you will see where our rank lines according to World Athletics. The rank lines are 3 to 7. 3 to 6. Sorry, otherwise I will kill me with my mistake. 3 to 6.
Okay.
Then 7 and 8. And lastly is 1 and 2. Your slowest lines is 1 and 2. So it's 3 to 6, 7 and 8, and 1 and 2. It can happen, but 7 and 8 is, for example, 1 is CGA and IGN, but 6 is IGN. When we will say IGNs, and I will manipulate it to say IGN, CGA, IGN, you try and always not to have all from the same province next to each other. But I cannot manipulate the draw where I'm not allowed to change 3 to 6 lines. So I can't put a person who's draw 3 to 6 to 7 and 8 or 1 to 2. I can just change 1 and 2 or 7 and 8 or 3 to 6. I can change the order to make it that it's not from one country or one province. But sometimes you can't help it. When one province has all 4 athletes from 3 to 6 and when it needs to stay as it is, you're not allowed to change it. When we talk about normal manipulating draws, so we go to a top 30 or top 10, the Tix top 10 or Northwest University top 30. I manipulate the draws so that the top schools athletes runs against each other. Also like in the middle distance and all of that to make it excitement. We have teams coming from Namibia, we have teams coming from Botswana, individual athletes from Zimbabwe, all over. And some of these athletes need an opportunity to run. So it doesn't help we put them, we want to put the strongest of the country each. So we maybe will have a very strong last heat and a very strong second last. Yeah, and that is the A races. But what we normally do, and that's still the time we had spectators, we let them let the other heats run earlier on the day, and the last 2 heats, for example, part of the evening program, and it's been a 2-hour short program with very exciting athletics and extremely good results. And then we had multiple South African records at these events. And recently our juniors has been breaking, I think you've seen the records. We're very good star athletes. It's just that our depth is not as it used to be.
And how has that, when you take that process and those systems, how has it been working with ASA, with USA, and together with AG and all these other provinces that sometimes need your services?
Okay, so in terms of that, it's been going well with ISA, with IGN. I'm always been with IGN, so with IGN it's great support. Our whole team, which is making up with Sipo Shawe, I think a lot of you will know him. Tebogo, who comes from Prestige. Then Hendrik Mokhanyetsi, who is the new president of it. Then with the Athletics Commission, I'm with Jerry Senekal, Fundi Flobi, who's part of us, Minky, Maidi. They are both part of us. And the team also normally, and I'm sure you're aware that our team is involved with the School of Speed, the Super School Series. So it's all that names who comes to it, including then obviously Sabata Kumalo. So all of that teams is like working together Annette Steenekamp, who's from Randburg High School. I think you know her, and the success of Randburg, Kyle Grants, who's one of the stars there. They have an athlete who broke the South African record this year. So it's a whole team effort of different things working together. And I think with experience, and Peter de Jager, which is one of South Africa's best officials, ITO, I think it is great. And with ISA working together this year, I also worked with Rosa Linda, ISA. Your life is very easy when it comes to ISI level. But what I've seen with all of them, when you work together, all have the same thing. It's one thing. Everyone is passionate about athletics, and I think that makes it great. And everyone is open to new things, and new things normally, if I say change, is like holiday, and it's good for athletics. So I think there's good positivity, and it is great working with them. I have not experienced any negativity. Only thing is positivity.
Nice. It's amazing to hear that the passion is what's driving the sport in all these also different provinces and federations. What are now going to something else? What are your thoughts on the state of athletics in this country, and where do you see yourself in the future in the sports? Do you see yourself growing to becoming something bigger, or do you see yourself in the same position?
Okay, for me, it's not about. I'm not interested in positions. No, definitely that's not me. I like to work at the background and get things done. For me, I prefer to do that role, and I think as long as maybe I'll get a walking stick or something when I get older. But for now, it's the same role. Obviously, my focus will be much more into athletics and cross country, but mostly athletics. My role for how I see it is the future is to improve athletics, but not by myself, but also that. But I think we have future stars of a country. My biggest challenge with a lot of our stars is that you know our challenge is it, and there's not really a solution at this stage. But the solution will come from the athletes. We have many good athletes. I'm not talking now about also other sporting coaches in this country that are affected. But for us as athletics, we lose a lot of good athletes to the US. Now, I don't have a problem if an athlete who's an average athlete go to the US and get a bursary, which that no means of getting a bursary in South Africa. Our challenge is take how many of these athletes are stars. And when they run, I mean, I'm taking, for example, myself. I coach a boy, I'm not going to say his name, he's currently one of the top 1,500 meters athletes on the ranking list. He's in the US. We were very close in terms of looking after him, but for me, it's I'm not going to comment.
Okay.
But the challenge is, my concern is that we have these stars. And I'm concerned that we have to run too many times down there in the US as part of a program at the US. And they're really good. We have a lot of them there. If it's a short-term thing and they come back, we have only had success with one medal from athletes going there. I think you know, I don't know if you know who that athlete is who won a medal. Do you know who it is?
The recent one that just came back.
And Nasser Jobajoana, he won a bronze at that's only
World champs, yes.
It's the only global medal from these athletes going for, and I'm concerned about middle distance.
Yes.
Because with middle distances, we have very good kids here. And they go overseas. We had a good athlete, Mpo Makufane. He's with my friend at UJ, who's coaching him there, JP van der Merwe.
Yeah, I know JP.
Yeah, I felt Mpo is a future star of South Africa. At that stage, I do understand why Mpo left South Africa, because Athletics South Africa at that time, if it was this time, he would have definitely been chosen. He did qualify, wasn't selected, which was really unfair towards him. He was the ASI school champion at that time. I can't remember if he was the ASI champion or the runner-up. I think, I'm not sure, I think he even won. But he wasn't selected, and it caused him a lot of negativity. But that for me, he was I felt if he was from the start of JP, maybe already was at Olympics. But yeah, but he's still a good athlete. He's still doing well. He's still training. So I hope he can still make it. He has all the potential in the world to make it. So we have the same with that. So my concern is that. But if we can keep our stars, we can keep our stars in South Africa. I see that South Africa can make a good stance in terms of Olympics, World Athletics Championships. I, however, don't see us winning a lot of medals in Beijing. But we do have a number of stars which can make us proud there. Akani Simbini is one of them. When the 400 meters relays have a chance. Yeah, we have a chance, and I think we should, as a country, focus now not only on relays for men, but also on relays for women. Send them to these global competitions. How did Wade van Niekerk came where he was? He felt out the first round when he go to his first global competition. But what did he gain? Experience. So the same applies for all our other teams and athletes. If I never get selected to gain experience, and so for championships they go to and they don't do well, then send them again if they qualify. And I think the more the experience they get, the better they will be at it.
I was sitting down with the president of ASA today, and it's sort of maybe a topic that South African figures of athletics need to have, in terms of how do we now, South African athletics, move to a different phase. At the same time, we can't blame the athletes for going to the US. I mean, it's the life that is there, the life that is possibly promised in their minds or something is a good life than here in South Africa. So, and I also get you. I also understand why you feel like these athletes should not leave. All our stars should be kept here at home because so far there's no results coming from the US. But don't you think that maybe somehow South African athletics can come up with a system? For instance, if for distance, middle distance, long distance, there can be maybe one head national coach who will be working with all these other coaches, maybe in different provinces. And all these coaches will be also working with young kids, because I feel like with distance, it's more of an individual thing. A lot of athletes are performing individually, but how about maybe we try to grow that nationally? What do you think about that?
Karabo, you have a good valid point about the US, the attraction value of the US. It is true. However, the athletes need to see, let's say, for example, we have this athlete who is very good. He or she is a star athlete, say in middle distance. We do have coaches who take them. We have John Verstaar, who took Caster, and he also took the previous 800-meter athlete to the Olympics, Olivier. And then we have JP van der Merwe, who has Olympian medal winners. So these guys know what they are doing it. And we also have various coaches. Now we have Samuel Sepeng, who also coached Caster, and we also had
the group,
a few of them,
different ones.
Yes, the Hendrik Ramala's group also stands out. So there's quite a number of new coaches coming to the thing. But at the end of the day, the athletes need to see Look, if an athlete doesn't get a proper university in South Africa with a proper offer, it's very difficult for them to stay. And I totally understand why they go to US, not because they want to, but because they have no other choice. But if I get an opportunity here and they know they have a chance to present for the country, I think they should consider that. And there are a few universities here in South Africa who really tries. So I think ISI, when you spoke to the president today, I'm sure things in the future probably can change for us in a positive direction. And I think ISI, I think by also with John Verstar, which is now the new track and field chairperson. We have, we also have some Sabata Kumala's vice person of the track and field things. I think it's a lot of passion from this side of the northern part of South Africa, where we also have a stronghold of athletics, except this, where Boland is also very good there. So I think this is a good thing in terms when Athletics South Africa maybe gets sponsorship and, like you say, national coach, to have a national coach. The only concern with me with a national coach is what I've seen also. Sometimes people select teams or do things which is not really based on fact. So for me, the new thing like World Athletics, for example, is saying that this is your position in the world. So if you are the first two South Africans and you are selected for a competition, that should be the first two South Africans. It shouldn't be my favorite because I'm from Prestige and I want to select my athlete. That's not on. We should use statistics. And statistics is the way to go. And I feel the same with coaches. We just need to see the achievements. If achievements is not there, then we cannot select this coach. And we can also check to not be careful to select a coach, because sometimes this coaches recruit, some coaches recruit athletes, but these athletes move. And at the end of the day, this good athlete doesn't stay with coach. We also need to see consistency. And I won't determine that, but I'm sure ISI will do it in the right way. Currently here in IGN, how coaches structures work and all of that has been put into a new advanced technology with new cards, QR codes, etc. In that way, we're trying to move forward and have technology based. And all of that comes with technology. But one thing I can say to you, Karabo, I do think, and if you ask me 10 years ago, you ask me now, and I think 20 years ago, except if I've got Alzheimer's, then the answer should be that we do have athletes in South Africa. We do have athletes. One thing we need to work on, and I've seen it at national championships, and I've seen it at provincial championships, I've seen it at school championships, is discipline. Discipline from myself, discipline from the coaches, discipline from the athletes, and commitment. If we work on that, there's no way South Africa won't get to that. And 90% of the people are doing it right. If we can just get the other 10%, it's either you fall in or you fall out. But we cannot let 10% let athletics downfall by not pitching up for an event or withdrawing the last minute. Things like that is not good for athletics with invalid reasons. And that's not how athletics should be. That's a disgrace to our sport. And that is the way forward, is not to tolerate that.
Very much, sir. Closing this, just a few questions left. How or what would you tell the young you, maybe 20 years ago? What would you tell yourself?
20 years ago.
What one tip would you say, Manus, do this?
My thing is, what I want to say to Karabo, and I know it also comes from a famous person, but I think you can achieve anything you want to achieve in your sport or in your career, everything. It comes with hard work. But people mustn't think I now work hard for 4 months or 5 months or a year, it's going to happen. But you're doing it right. Things will come into place. Eventually will come into place. Don't give up. Work hard and you will do well with it. Yes.
The young you would be happy to hear that. The young you would possibly believe it and jump up and down and say yes. I'm just thinking about this last question and how it's gonna be beneficial to everyone. What would you say to maybe a young me who's into athletics, who's maybe losing hope, who's maybe losing the trust in the system, the trust in the process, as an athlete, as a spectator, whatever that it is? What did you say is the hope, is the light at the end of the tunnel?
It's a difficult question you ask. And when I was approached to do the Puma School of Speed, I was asked, what is different from Puma School of Speed? What can I make it different in terms of the School of Speed? And I was approached by Michael Meyer, which is, and I'm sure you're aware of him, he's involved with athletics and road running in the country and all different types of adventure. My answer to that was that a lot of athletes, and that's what I want to say to you, is Prestige Kids gets the opportunity, and I always make the opportunity to let them participate and I put them in. I will never get to a meet where the name is not entered and doing it. One of the parents actually told me, one of the fathers athletes said to me, I must stop spoon feeding them. I must give them more responsibility. So I've started doing it this year, like with the different events that they go onto Google and enter the Google Sheets by themselves. But normally I will fix it if it's a mistake, but it's a step. But what happens is they got an opportunity to participate. They get exposed. But I can't assist the whole country. That's impossible, except if I have the means and have a sponsorship, I would put programs in place. But what the School of Speed's whole idea was, is that anyone can participate. We don't limit it. So that was a process of 5. It's now, this year was going to be the 6th year. It was a 5-year project. So here you go, you're from whichever place, and you enter. So we had the whole country, traveling the whole country through it. And it gives an opportunity to learners, where learners were exposed to participating against the best. So what happens is they ran a heat, and later on, if they qualify, will go to the final. And you would have seen, it's not names we were used to. It's different names.
Yes.
So you got names which different one. One of the boys currently, he was at he come from Mhlanga. His name is Viun Glovo. I got a Puma sponsorship, and he's now a student at the University of Northwest on a scholarship. He does 100 and 200. For example, that is a boy where his teacher is a good coach. His coach is Stefan, and he did a lot of effort for View. And when View, he was dedicated, and we pushed him and so on for his academics, especially from his coach's side, and he got into varsity. So, and if you take where View comes from, and you also take where a lot of other learners comes from, it's an opportunity to say to them, here you are, you come from nowhere, you have a Puma contract, which is not a small contract, and therefore you have success for your future. It doesn't guarantee that you'll be all successful. It all depends on you. But what I say to you, if every child is willing to work hard, there are a lot of dedicated coaches in townships, not obviously in all townships. but it gives them a chance to go and train with his coach. Somehow, somewhere, don't give up. Someone will see you. And if someone doesn't see you, also focus on the academic part of your school. Maybe at your school there's 50 teachers and only one cares. That's all what you need. Work hard and get assistance from there. You will always get somewhere there, but you mustn't give it. There's hope in the country in terms of opportunities, but it's not going to come today and you walk into this opportunity. It's going to take you. It's going to take time. It's going to take effort where you come from. And that's the difference is where I'm going to give you example is a good story is where Precious Molepo, who's at Prestige, where she comes from is her mother is a domestic worker, and she came to Prestige on a scholarship, but she used to do middle distance, and she was in the 400, and we said, "No, the coach said, now let's try her in the 200." Her first time was 200 meters at 8 bond. That was about 3 years ago, and she won it. And that girl came from 0 to hero. But what I want to say is she was just a township girl from Limpopo. We have another boy, just an example. Also, just for give hope, Sanele comes from KZN. His father passed away. He doesn't have a father. But his mother is a dedicated teacher. But she's deaf. So how me and her communicate? We communicate on WhatsApp. She's a school teacher, and I'm not sure if you're aware, but he was on the list to go to the SA Under 20 championships in Kenya. He jumped 7-4 on 8, I think, last weekend at things. And he had a very good jump on Saturday. But just to say to you is that there's hope, but there's not only the story of Prestige, there's the story of Tech Sports School, there's the story of Vorentoe High School under Hans there, who's also, who coached Ruben, also dedicated. Unfortunately, he retired as principal. He has reached 65 years old. But what I want to say is all these people are people who are dedicated. If you also take where Tebogo Mamatu comes from. Tebogo Mamatu was from Soweto, but she was got by Umdani Lindike from which was at that time at Monas, and he also coached Yaya Koza, and then he also coached her, and she became later on the South African champion. But he passed away a few years ago. So just to say to you, there are coaches, there are athletics organizers, there are not only them, there are many people in this country who are there for athletes who will take the teacher's salary, who will take some who takes the coach's salary, who will buy the kids' shoes, who will buy the. But at the end of the day, an athlete must focus and must always have two things in mind when they come. You don't have to be an academic superstar, but if you have your passion for athletics and you are willing to work with academics, in one of the two, you will make success and you will become something. It doesn't help you go back to where you come from and you have not achieved anything. So improve the area you come from, and then life will be better for all the learners and where they come from in situations where are. Some learners are fortunate and their parents look well after them, and they also achieve, and also it's good for them. A lot of Afrikaans schools here in Pretoria where athletes are doing very well and they're extremely focused on doing well. The Garsfonteins, the Waterkleus, the Menlo Parks, the Swartkops, the Aldorains, the midstream colleges, and so on, offices, and all of them. Help Mekaars in Joburg, the Randburgs in Joburg, Kempton Parks, the Jeuglands, you know, the Noordheuwel, Monas, all of them. They really go all the way to assist with schools. And I think with that strong competition and effort, and kids get an opportunity to go there, it uplifts the standard of athletics, but also it uplifts the learners to say, wherever I come from, I want to be the best. And if you have an attitude, so always my attitude was with prestige is that you cannot stand back from a person from another school. You your own. When you run and you run between the two lines, you run against yourself. Middle distance obviously is tactic and so on, but it's all about yourself and so on. So it's what you determine and no one else. And that is the whole idea. If it all depends on you, and you can make a success, you as an individual.
Wow.
I don't know if I talk too much.
It's okay. It's hard feeling. It's fulfilling as well. It's big. It's also shining and enlightening something in me. I'm happy and I become happy when I see people like you. You know, I'm only 20, trying to figure my way onto showing South African athletics to the world via YouTube, the media, and everything. I'm also studying on the other hand, so it also adds on to me as a person. And this is what I live for. This is why I do it. This is why I enjoy it, and this is why I want to meet people like you, have conversations with people like you. Mr. Manus, it has been growing, fulfilling, powerful. The person that you are is a person carrying possibly most than we can ever imagine. And you are just doing it in your own corner because you are the kind of person you don't want any shine on you, but on the athletes. And thank you so much for being the person that you are in the community. Thank you so much for driving athletics in the direction that you are, as much as you're not mentioned everywhere. Thank you so much as well for the person that you are. Yeah, I think the viewers also want to thank you as well. I can say that that was the end of the interview. It has been KaraboJ with another episode of the Beyond Athletics. And yeah, that has been it. Thank you.